Good morning, everybody. I hope you're having a fantastic day. I got tired of trying to mitigate cats and kids in my downstairs office, so I created my new video room. It's kind of bland, and I still have to fix the book situation behind me because obviously I need more books back there. But today I wanted to talk to you about how some of the biggest changes in your lives can be accomplished with some of the smallest adjustments. So a lot of people think that, say for instance, your business is at 300,000 or 150,000 in sales a year, and you're like, I just want to get to maybe a 10% or 20% or even 100% increase. And they think that they have to go back to the drawing board, start all over again, and it can be really, really frustrating. But the good news is that some of the biggest changes that you can have in your life, whether it's in your personal life, in your community life, or your business life, I always look at the three. There's business life, community life, and then your personal life. All you need to do is actually make small, tiny adjustments. So let me give you an example. So let's say you're looking at all the things you do in your day. So in the Life on Fire program, so it's lifeonfireprogram.com if you want to take a look at it, we look at what's called the not to do list. So we make a giant list of all the things that you do, and then we really ascertain, do you have to do that, or is there another opportunity? And so what happens at the end, you have what's your big to-do list, and then you carve off the things that you don't necessarily need to do. You might be able to delegate them. You might be able to outsource them. You might need to just eliminate it altogether. And what you're left with now is a heck of a lot more time to do what you need to do to grow your business. And you're outsourcing the things that you're either not really good at, or it's just you don't need to spend your time on it, or it's you spending time on that is not going to grow your business, right? So I'm a huge advocate of outsourcing that kind of stuff. So when I wanted to write a book, I started writing the book, and it took me a long time. Because I'm not a writer. I mean, I'm just not a novel writer. I'm not a book writer. And so I'd write for, an hour or so a day. And some days I'd miss it, and then I'd feel bad. And then, you know what, when you start feeling bad about not being able to accomplish what you need to accomplish, it makes it even worse. It's like a compound effect, but the wrong kind of compound effect. So when I hired out, ghostwriters in a publishing company, I was like, awesome. And because I did that, I've been able to launch 2 of my coaching programs. And I'll tell you this now, I'm going to announce later on today, but I have my destination mastermind finally figured out. And I am so excited to tell you guys about this thing, because I have not come across a mastermind that does the same thing. I haven't. And it's incredible, right? But I wouldn't have been able to have the brain space to do that if I hadn't outsourced that one thing. And so a giant leap in my business being able to create and sell these programs was because I took a small change and said, okay, I'm going to take this one piece and I'm going to do something differently with it. And if you watch my video on Friday was a tough day for me. So Friday, I talked a lot about anxiety and how to overcome anxiety with that 1-minute rule, which is just basically when you're in the throes of a panic attack or you're really, really stressed out, I kind of get that choking feeling up in my throat, or a full body sweat, also super fun. You just need to take conscious breaths for just 1 minute, and you'll be able to get through it. And so I did that video on Friday, and I also had to do a presentation on Friday, and it was 2.5 hours after I was having a really shitty morning. And so I went to the presentation, and I did it. It was about, Life Unlimited. It's the title of it is called Think Again, which is how success in business and life actually starts in your head. So I made that presentation, and at the end of it, this wonderful woman raised her hand and said, I don't have a question, but I just want to say, I watched your video about anxiety and about the 1-minute rule, and on my way to a very stressful situation, I used it, and it really, really helped. And so when you think about it, like one small change, one little habit that you're gonna adjust, right? Or that you're going to introduce to yourself, like the 1-minute rule, can make a gigantic impact on, say, that woman's ability to successfully manage that particular situation. If you go into a situation stressed out, you are already at a deficit. So if you can do one small thing, and I got an amen from Gary, amen. If anyone else agrees, throw your hands up and give me a clap too, because it's so true that these little things can make gigantic impacts on our lives. So that's one small thing. Another small thing, so outsourcing or delegating, getting things off your plate, that's a small thing. Changing some of the habits or the way that you approach situations, that's a small thing. One of the other things I taught on the session on Friday was notification triggers. So we need to remind ourselves that we are really, really good, that we are successful, that we are capable, that we've got it, that we are millionaires, whatever it is that your goal is. Often our minds can start sabotaging ourselves throughout the day. We start second guessing ourselves, we get self-doubts, and that starts to slip away. But with notification triggers, you just put on your phone several times a day things that will remind you, those affirmations that say, no, like you are this good thing. You are what you believe that you are. And those reminders help us to get there. And so, if you're looking at your life and you're like, man, like I'm not where I want to be. And a lot of people will tell you that you need to like do a deep dive, overhaul, blow it up, start all over again. Or you get these, do this one thing and you'll get riches. Usually it's someone who is holding up their camera in front of their Lamborghini or their house on the water or whatever. Like they're look at the millions that I've made, right? First of all, a lot of that stuff is rented. Second of all, those people could be mortgaged to the hilt. So don't believe what you see on video. Believe what actually happens in your life. So, I really caution you to avoid the whole, one thing can change your business, because it's never usually one thing. It's usually a series of small things. It could be that, okay, one of the things that I've done that has been really, really helpful for my mindset and my stress level is every time I go to bed at night and every time I wake up in the morning, I have a series of affirmations, just things I tell myself that are positive. I am this and I am that. And because I've got these goals. So I am a best-selling author. Do I have a book out yet? No, but it's coming. And I know it's going to be a best-selling author. A best-selling book. And I believe that to my core. But in order for my brain to act in accordance with that, I need to tell it I'm already a best-selling author. If I say I will be, and I've said this before, if I say I will be a best-selling author, you ain't gonna get there, right? And so when you change that mentality of, just at night and in the morning, small habit makes a gigantic change. So Chet Holmes, who wrote The Ultimate Selling Machine, which is a book I love, it's actually that red book right behind me there, he did that, and he doubled his income in 1 year. Now, he doesn't run his own, at the time he wasn't running his own business. He was an employee, and with these affirmations that he told himself at the beginning and the ending of every day, he actually made a recording of himself, he was able to double his income within that year. And Gary, to your point about posers and small hinges, big doors, absolutely. Don't necessarily believe the stuff that you see. One of the other things that I'll caution you about when you're looking at, if say for instance you want to improve a skill, right? The only way you improve a skill is to go up to the people who have proven that they have, improved that skill, or they've got a methodology that you want to learn. So it's not that you shouldn't learn from other people, but don't get excited about someone that you see who's like being all flashy, and again, flashy cars, flashy houses, lots of money, because it's not necessarily going to be true. Like one thing, it's really interesting. I don't know if you guys have ever read The 4-Hour Workweek by Timothy Ferriss. I love that book. That book was actually a huge book that convinced me to go out on my own. It was so interesting because I watched Dean Graziosi in a video recently where he was talking about Tim writing that 4-Hour Workweek. And he said Tim was not working only 4 hours a week when he wrote that book. And then he quickly went on to something else. It's almost like he said something he shouldn't have said. And I'm like, really? So here's this guy who has basically built his entire career on a book called Working 4 hours a week kind of a thing, describing how he did it. But while he was writing that book, he wasn't doing that. And maybe he never did that. But what he sold was an idea that you could then apply however you wanted. And so, if you do want to only work 4 hours a week, well, yeah, go get the 4-hour work week and see what you can pull from that. But I feel like I'm digressing from my main point here, which is the greatest changes in your life will happen by introducing small habits, usually one at a time. And some people will say it'll take you, 21 days to start to get a new habit to really take hold. That's not necessarily the case. You can develop a new habit in 2 days. You can develop it in 60 days, right? Everyone is going to have different times at which a new habit finally clicks in. Right, so I'll give you a couple little habits, and then I'm gonna peace out for now. I'm gonna go, and I gotta come back later on today, and I hope you guys piece in, because I'm gonna be telling you about my destination mastermind, and I am so freaking excited about this. It like blows my mind. But I have one more detail I have to figure out. So, couple little small habits. So we talked about affirmations. We talked about what you say to yourself, beginning and ending of every day. Other things you have, I think it was Mel Robbins who has the 5-second rule. There's a lot of rules. So the 5-second rule is, say you're waking up in the morning and you're struggling to get out of bed when your alarm goes off. Turn your alarm off, count down from 5, and then get out of bed, right? You have 5 seconds to give yourself in bed and then say, if you really want to get out and you want to make a change, get out of bed. You've got 5 seconds to do so, right? So that's what that is. There's also what I call the 5-minute rule. And no, that's not how long when food drops on the floor when you have a kid. Although my kids ate it anyway, didn't matter if it was 5 minutes or 5 hours. The 5-minute rule is one that I use when you get overwhelmed by emotion. So you're overwhelmed by sadness or stress or anger or whatever. Allow yourself at least 5 minutes to be able to really feel that emotion deeply. Right? Tuesdays with Maury was a book where I got this from. He was dying of ALS, and someone said, like, Maury, do you ever get really sad? Because he's a pretty upbeat kind of guy. And he's like, yeah. And I go in my room and I cry and I scream, and he couldn't throw anything because he was paralyzed. But he says, I feel that really, 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 really deeply. And then I close the door and I carry on with my day. So that's a 5-minute rule. I've talked about the 1-minute rule. When you're overwhelmed. There's so much anxiety and stress in the world. We need to learn strategies to be able to deal with it. So the 1-minute rule is just simply breathing consciously and deeply for 1 minute, right? Count your breaths, try not to get distracted. If you get distracted, come back and just carry on from there. There's the 20-20-20, which is what you can do in the morning. Spend 20 minutes reading, 20 minutes moving. So it could be stretching, it could be working out, whatever you want to do, and then 20 minutes meditating. And that's just really, again, you can meditate specifically on something. Sometimes I have a problem and I just sit there with that problem and I let the answer come up. Because sometimes when we push, we're so busy in our brains that we don't allow the answers to kind of rise to the surface. So if you're struggling with something and you're like, I can't figure out what I should do, sit for 20 minutes with that problem and just don't really think about it in any specific way, but just be open to ideas that may come up. And there are people who have literally run their entire businesses based on they think for businesses. On behalf of businesses, they come in, they listen to your problems, and they sit in a room like this, and they think until the solution comes up to them. And each one of those small things can make a gigantic impact. Because imagine if you are less stressed out. Now you're able to deal with your problems either at home, in your community, or in your business. And you're able to do it logically, rationally, and you're going to get a better result. Let's say, for instance, you're trying to get more done in your day. And you're trying to be more productive, and getting out of bed is difficult. So the 5-second rule of 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go and do it. If you consciously have that can help you be more productive in your day. Creating the not to-do list, getting something off your plate, outsourcing, delegating it, eliminating it, whatever. That's a small thing that you can do to get more done in your day. And when you can focus 100% or as close to 100% as possible on growing your business and doing the things you're good at, don't try to get the things off your plate that you're not good at as fast as humanly possible. And when you have that focus of only doing what you're really good at, what you truly love to do in a way that is productive and effective, that is where you're going to get massive change. Massive change comes only from small adjustments that we make in our days and that we stick to. So you can't make an adjustment and then, drop it and then expect good things to happen. That ain't gonna happen. But if you make the small adjustments and you stick to those small adjustments. That's why I suggest one at a time. Start one, stick to it. Start one, stick to it. That's when you're going to make massive change. All right. So like I promised, ladies and gentlemen, I will be back later on today with a giant announcement about my Destination Mastermind. I am so excited about this, and I hope you are too. If you want, please do share this with other people who you think also may be helpful, would appreciate knowing how to make these small changes. And if you want to know more about how I teach this, you can go to lifeonfireprogram.com. All right. Take care, guys. Have a great afternoon or great day. It's almost afternoon. I'll see you soon.